Good morning, everybody. This is Brent with Lykins Motorsports, and I hope you guys can hear me loud and clear this morning as I am, I waited until the family left the house so that I could be more loud and animated with my voiceovers. Got so many complaints recently from some very rude people who told me that my voice was boring and dry and it put them to sleep. So by all means, I don't want to disturb anybody's livelihood and wellness this morning by being dry and boring. So to all the quail heads out there who feel that they need to be rude and troll, feel free to unsubscribe from my channel. But this morning we're going to be talking about 3 tunnel port engines. So I've done a lot of tunnel ports over the years. They are a very unique and exotic engine, and I luckily have been able to gain the trust of a lot of customers who put these in my hands. They're not cheap, especially when you mess with factory side oiler blocks and factory cylinder heads and intakes and all that stuff. So they are one of my favorite FEs to put together, and they make just a whole lot of horsepower. So the goal for this video is just to show you guys 3 different iterations of Ford FE tunnel ports, and show you how they can be very docile, and they can also make a whole lot of horsepower at the same time. A lot of people think that just because the intake ports are large for a smaller displacement engine, that they're not good street engines, but I think I've proven many times over that with the correct camshaft and the correct specs, that these engines do quite well on the street. So you're looking at a for just an added bonus, all 3 engines that we're going to be talking about, they are all 465 cubic inches. So they're all a variation of an aftermarket block or a factory side oiler blocks. There are 2 factory combinations that we'll be talking about. Those are 4 1/4 by 4 1/8 inch stroke, and then we'll have one aftermarket block combination that I believe was a 4 310 by a 398 stroke combination. I'll do the math here in a second and make sure I'm telling you right. But the engine that you're looking at right now is the latest tunnel port that we finished about a month ago. 465 cubic inches. The customer supplied the block and the heads and the intake and a lot of the parts to me. Here we see his factory block after it's been baked and tumbled and machined. Again, I know I sound like a broken record, but standard operating procedure on new blocks: bore, hone with torque plates, square the decks, line hole the mains with good fasteners, and the blocks come out looking pretty much brand new after they come out of the oven, and they're tumbled with some media to clean them up. Old factory side oiler blocks, old 1960s technology from the customers that ran them, or from the racers that ran them. Big stinking holes where they've been wallered out in the mains. Please don't ever do this to your FE block. You can see that one's been really just whopper jawed. It's not necessary, and please don't weaken your FE's mains by doing that treatment. It'll can get you in a world of hurt and ruin a good block. So we paint the engines with either Duplicolor ceramic or VHT engine paint. This one we used just a satin black. You can see a custom hydraulic roller in that block. And just again, a testament to how these engines don't need big high RPMs to function well, that they do really well with a custom, even a hydraulic camshaft. So that's one of my custom hydraulic rollers. Intake duration is in the low 240s, which is pretty low for a 465 cubic inch engine. Here we see the steel cam thrust plate that I use with all of my billet steel camshafts. You can buy those through Precision Oil Pumps, as well as those nice ARP cam thrust plate bolts. Doug sells all those items. For the rotating assembly on this engine, we decided to go with a SCAT 9000 series, so it's a cast crank 4 1/8 inch stroke, along with some SCAT I-beam 6-700 rods and some custom Racetech pistons. You can see on the right hand side there the Cloy's billet timing set that I use with all my roller cam engines. So for these cylinder heads, we are going with the factory tunnel port heads and bronze valve guides, obviously, along with some stainless SI valves, 2 1/4 by 175, 11/32, and we cut that step down around the guide so that you can use a modern spring locator. That needs to be flat right there, so that you can positively locate the valve spring. Then we follow this up with some comp cams, valve springs, retainers, and locks. And you can see that these heads have not been modified, so no port work. We did not raise the floors. This is just a factory headed tunnel port engine as it came from 1967. The ports are indeed huge, about 4 fingers going in there, and just a massive intake port. There's a shot of the assembled short block and the dished Racetech pistons. So these come out at about 9.8 to 1 compression. So very easy on pump gas, no issues with any of that, and just another testament to how well the heads and the cam work with just 9.8 to 1 compression. There's the Felpro 1020 head gaskets and Morel hydraulic roller lifters, and we're bolted on the cylinder heads. Carter M6905 fuel pump, and a new oil filter adapter with Wix oil filter that I like to use. Another shot there, and factory timing cover. We've got a power bond harmonic balancer. Six 700 rod makes for a pretty short piston with a 4 1/8 inch stroke. Makes the piston fairly light. Then we got some paint on the cylinder heads and those bolted on. Everything's looking like it's coming together now. A Canton deep front sump oil pan, one of my billet aluminum timing pointers that I sell, adjustable. So far a factory headed combination with some modern goodies on the inside. T&D rockers, and there's that factory 2x4 single plane tunnel port intake with a factory distributor that's been recurved with and fitted with a steel gear Pertronics conversion on that as well. And then for some almost finished photos, pair of 700 and thinking they're 710, 715 CFM carburetors from Drew Pojednik, brand new plated linkages. There's that factory distributor, factory style water pump. So with the exception of the Blue Thunder valve covers and the screw-in breathers there, everything looks pretty period correct for a 1967 tunnel port. So let's go over the dyno results. You can see there that the oil temperature actually went down. I've talked about that on various forums and some past videos. If you have a really good, well-designed oil pan, that sometimes you'll see the oil temperature go down. Oil pressure went up. Air-fuel ratios were pretty close side to side. There was no modifications done to this intake whatsoever, so no runner balancing or anything like that. We were rewarded with about 540 pound-feet of torque and 575 horsepower at just 6,000 RPM. So a very streetable engine. And if you're wondering why the numbers look so low towards the lower RPM numbers, it's because the dyno kind of picks up where the peaks are, and then we adjust where the pull starts in order to get a sweep of the numbers there. Very, very, very rarely do we pull our engines down at low RPM. There's just no need to do it, and in some situations it can be dangerous to the health of the engine, so we don't do that on most of those. But 575 horsepower and 540 pound-feet of torque from 465 cubic inches factory head combination, factory intake combination, and a hydraulic roller with just 9.8 to 1 compression. So this is the first tunnel port that we're looking at, and this will be the low end of the tunnel port spectrum. So now we'll hop on to a little bit of a more warmed up tunnel port. Again, 465 cubic inches, but the parts are a little bit different. So this engine also used a factory 427 side oiler block. This engine was actually sent to me by the customer, and a lot of it was together. The heads still had the sodium exhaust valves in those, and they were quite fun to remove. They were old and damaged, and a few of them actually smoked at me, so interesting to see some of this old factory stuff. But the block again was treated to all the normal cleaning and machining processes. It got a steel crank with some scat rods as well. Molnar rods as well, and just a little bit more beefier parts, since we didn't really know if this would end up as a street engine or as a race engine. But you can see there the custom Race Tech domed pistons. We'll show the box here in a second as it came in, but these are a 10cc dome to add a little bit of compression to the engine. There's the pistons that we used. Again, 4 1/4 bore, 1/300 compression height. With the Molnar, it looks like we used some 6/800 rods on that one. A little shorter compression height. 10cc dome. If I remember correctly, the compression ratio come out to be about 12:1, so considerably higher than the 9.8:1 compression ratio of the previous tunnel port engine. There's what the pistons look like out of the box. Metric ring pack, as we try to use with most of our builds these days. Get away from those Massey Ferguson piston rings. Very big valve reliefs for the 2 1/4 and 1/75 valves that we used. There's a shot of an assembled long block, and we used valve springs obviously for solid roller cam, titanium spring retainers, factory timing cover with a fuel pump block off plate, new oil filter adapter, and our standard Wix filter that we put on there. Got some Cometic head gaskets. You can see the little brass rivets sticking up. But you can see how the intake ports have been changed there. Pull that intake port volume out, make it smaller, velocity goes up, head flow goes up. These heads flowed, if I remember correctly, around 370 CFM. So a big step up from a factory tunnel port head. There's a shot of the cylinder heads, again bronze valve guides, stainless SI valves, and a little bit of raising the floor on these. We've been doing our tunnel port heads like this for years and years and years and years. Cuts that intake port volume down. Helps on these little smaller engines if the customer has the budget to do this. You have to do it to both the cylinder head and the intake manifold. So for the carburetors, again we went to Drew. He did us up a pair of Hollies, recolored, and everything looks immaculate. Show those here. Drew does just a fantastic job of making everything look period correct. Vacuum secondaries obviously, and we use a balanced tube so that both carburetors get as equal amount of vacuum as they can. MSD distributor, FE power, electric water pump adapters, and a CVR electric water pump. Got some chrome pent roof valve covers and some MSD spark plug wires, and we are ready to make some noise. So as we look at this sheet, again, oil temperature stayed right there. We always look to make sure that we don't get any big gains. Oil pressure went up for the most part. Air fuel ratios pretty much stayed pretty fairly close within each other, within 3 or 4 tenths of a point there. 500 and looks like 88 pound-feet of torque and 655 horsepower at 7,000 RPM. So again, a testament to how well these cylinder heads work. And these are, 1967 pieces, 465 cubic inches, approximately 12 to 1 compression, and just a whole lot of horsepower. There's a gratuitous dyno shot. Everything hooked up, ready to go. You can see my engine sling hanging on the hoist over there to the left of the photo. Those are very, very handy for like Weber setups and dual carburetor intakes. Those, the sling has 4 straps. You hook 2 to each side, and you can literally manipulate that engine around any way that you need to without having to take the carburetors off or reset your linkages or anything like that. Very handy. And there's the shot of engine being crated up and getting ready to drop it off to the freight company. Obviously, that's not the whole crate. I was building it in the back of my truck, and McLeod parts along with some original older style valve covers. So nice engine. Let's go on to the next one. So you guys are going to have to be patient and hang with me, because as you can see on the picture, this was from the days of Photo Bucket before they basically held everybody's stuff hostage. And I don't have many more pictures than this right here, and I don't have any dyno video. But stick with me for a second, and we'll talk about the iterations that this engine went through. I did this engine for a customer, and we redid this engine 3 times. So the first time we used factory untouched cylinder heads and intake manifold. Again, this is a 465 cubic inch engine, 12 to 1 compression, and it made around 600 horsepower at 7,000 RPM. We then decided to modify. We don't port tunnel port heads, we modify them, reduce the volume, and we worked the intake manifold the same way. And this particular engine, 465 cubic inches, 12 to 1 compression with a solid roller, made 696 horsepower. So just a very, very strong piece of machinery. Brand new quick fuel 725 CFM carburetors. You can see the 1-inch super suckers under each one. And this engine used a I think it's a GZ vacuum pump. I think I'm having a senior moment. Pretty sure that. Alright, we're going to wrap the video up here. I just want to say thank you to everybody. You guys have been great making the channel grow. and I appreciate you watching and seeing all these cool factory Ford combinations that we have going on. Tunnel port stuff is really cool. High riser stuff is really cool. We'll probably do a video about high riser 427 here pretty soon. And so it takes you guys to watch the videos to make the channel successful. And again, thank you very much. Should have a quick recap video of what's been going on with our 302 GT40 headed engine here in a little bit. Just some updates. We've also been gathering more parts and a little bit more machine work for our 464 cubic inch cleaver engine that we're working on, and had to send the pistons out to have them fly cut. We changed to a 1/8 intake rocker ratio, and kind of hurt our radial valve clearance a little bit, so drop those off, and machinist has those, so when those pistons come back we can get back up on that engine build for a little bit. But just a lot of cool stuff happening right now, so hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out. Thank you guys very much, and I'll see you soon.